Hello, everybody, and welcome to a hot Sunday afternoon. Let me go ahead and remove this. Hope everyone had a wonderful week. I certainly did. Last night we had a get together to commemorate, can't even speak today, Nathan's graduation. Had a bunch of friends, and he had a couple of buddies came over as well, so that was good. Way too much food, obviously, always that way. But anyway, I have been contemplating this week about the usage of the Print Prism new option to use that extended gamut setting. And I did create two profiles. One was normal, and it was for, I think it was for polar matte 5x7. I did a 5x7 chart, by the way, which was scanned, and the profile was created without a single issue, which is really good because that saves you money if you're working or trying to make a profile for a more expensive paper. You just need to simply use a 5x7 portion of it. So if you have 8.5x11, just cut it in half and print the 5x7 on it. Yeah, that'll work. But anyway, so I did both profiles, one with the highest setting, and as you saw last week when Mike Cheney was here with us, he spoke about that. He got a little bit deep into the gamut situation. And it's not so much the physical bubble that you can see on certain softwares and websites. It's not that at all. It's how accurate that outer shell, in other words, that outer membrane, allows a variety of your RGB and red, green, and RGB and yellow, magenta, cyan to come in. The more you have, not necessarily having a large, say, yellow area. That just means you're going to have a lot more gamut in the yellow zone. So what I want gamut on the overall RGB, yellow, magenta, cyan zone. So I did both profiles. You remember I printed an image that was created by Richard Bender. It had a lot of colors. And I'll show you this straight away. I cannot locate my little light, so you'll have to put up with my crappy lights on the side. But the upper one, so you can see, polar matte, PP 210, and high setting, basically in that option. You have a normal, medium, and high. So normal is the default setting. High would be more gamut. Well, I looked at this image on Photoshop using gamut warning, and like 95% of the colors are in gamut. So I may have used the wrong image to demonstrate that, but the bottom one is normal. The upper one is the one with that more or higher gamut setting. Bottom one was printed using relative colorimetric. The upper one using perceptual rendering intent. Right away, you see these oranges here are a little bit more subdued, meaning this allowed more colors, if they had been out of gamut, to come in, whether it needed it or not. So I told Mike, I showed him the results, and he said, just stick with this for most pictures. Now, there's another one that I may try today that contains, oh my gosh, way too many autogamma colors, and I want to see whether that will work. Now, before we get started here, I received a package yesterday with some ink, and I'm going to say hello to everyone first of all before I divulge what came in with that little box. So Fred Elias from Warren, Michigan is here. Mid 70s. I wish it was mid 70s here. Right now it's 85. Too hot for me. He has a PP 210, 8550 as well. Nikon D300 and Red River papers. Love the metallics, all the OEM. Good morning, Joe. Good morning back at you. Well, actually, it's now afternoon for me. Henry Stoffel, rainy Medford, Massachusetts. Yesterday evening, we had a warning for extreme thunderstorms, and I thought, well, great, that's going to cool down the weather. No, I really didn't do much of a cool down. But anyway, that was quickly, it came through. We were still at Nathan's house when that took place. He has a P800 OEM inks, a Print Prism 210, Epson V39 2 scanner, and of course, Image Ultimate, the latest version, Lifetime. Captain Donzi from Richmond, Virginia, Pro 100, all the trimmings. Sony A77, A65, and a 350 Sony Omega Rapid 2 1/4, 3 1/4 roll film camera. MPM photo, hot, okay, but it's high, it's dry heat. Phoenix, Arizona. Sure, that's what they all say. I never understood that. Oh, but it's dry heat. Cold, but you know, it's humid, so it's not that, it doesn't feel like that's cold. It's still hot, guys. MPM photo, Nick Marmolejo, Deer Valley, Arizona. Okay, 3800 Piezography Pro inks and Epson XP 50000 chipless PCSE inks, Image Ultimate Lifetime ON1 Photo Raw Max, and Sony Alpha 6000. HZ is here from the Netherlands. Nice windy spring weather. I miss that weather in that region of the world. Epson 8550 papers from Epson, Canson, Ilford, Pentax DSLRs with film era lenses for by 5 field and studio cameras with Schneider, and I cannot pronounce that, lenses. Here is Kevin Berniarski from Ellsworth, Wisconsin. We're still enjoying the cheese curds from Ellsworth that my friend brought us when they visited us. Wonderful stuff. I just throw it on everything. TPD 605, Ron K, Trenton, New Jersey, 8550 Image Ultimate Lifetime, Canon R5 Mark II, and a Canon D7 Mark I, 70 Mark I. There's Richard Bender, Hagerstown. Did some late night printing last night of images that I shot at a wedding last Saturday, keeping my 8550 busy. I received your link to that video. Yeah, as soon as I heard the narration, I realized guy has no clue what he's talking about. Absolutely. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Here's Judy Ann. Good morning, afternoon, Jose, from the never green side of Washington State. Good to be back after missing 2 last streams. Nikon Fuji film cameras and Canon Pro 200 printer. Welcome, Judy. Charlie Groth. Hi from Southern California. You're looking good. Yeah, I'm looking all right. Not bad for someone about to turn 77 in September. I got told that by a bunch of Judys, my Judys, girlfriends last night. So hey, I can always take a compliment, no problem. All right, so I can no longer use this. Can you use, if possible? And T. Harrig, Harig, and he is, well, I didn't see a return address here. Oh yeah, here it is. Let me make sure that so he is from Tawnytown, Maryland. That's just north of us, just below the Pennsylvania border. And it's inks, P3, K3 inks from Precision Colors. Those would be your nine channels, including the, I believe it is. Let me make sure. Yeah, 8, 4, 4, and 1. That's 9. Except here are some already pre-filled third-party cartridges. And as I looked at the label, come to realize they're for the P600, and I do not own a P600. So the P600 basically replaced the R3000, and so that ink set, well, that printer is one of the few last printers that Epson put out there that allowed you, the US based user, to refill. So it's fabulous. If anybody knows or you own a P600, let me know via email. Okay, tooljoe1949 at gmail.com, or this one. Would I prefer this one because I'm more likely to read it? So I put it down. Is Machicheo 1949. So Machicheo means I was a little machito, the firstborn in my father's side of the family, and my nickname is Cheo. So that's my nickname only by family members. Okay, no one else gets to call me Cheo. They have to call me Joe or Jose. So that's what my family named me as a nickname. And like my sister was Tati, Tati. Her name is really Eva, and but only families could call her Tati, or whoever she allowed to call her Tati could call her Tati. And I believe there's other countries have that type of uh, what do you call it? Uh, feature, not feature, but you know what I mean. So let me put this up here. So just let me know if you happen to know someone with a P600 or you own one. Let me know, and I will send you this to you, and you'll be able to use the refillables. Now the inks I'm going to use on my current printer because that actually is compatible with the P800. Now this is the HDSE, so the P800 takes the HDSD SE inks. So, but you have a full set of refillables that has not been used and are fully filled, ready to be used. Okay. Now, concerning what Richard Bender sent me, and I don't want to play the video because you guys won't be able to hear it anyway. It was about the intricacies of Epson and Canon, how the printers use the firmware to keep track of every single cleaning cycle, and after it reaches a certain number of cleaning cycles, or your pads become saturated to a certain level, you're basically screwed. You got to take it in for servicing. Well, that ain't true. Okay, gosh, I was just that is not true. And he was mostly concerned with this, the 8550. No, it's not true. Printers that have replaceable waste ink cartridges, you just replace them. You don't have to get your printer serviced or something reset. Baloney, 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 baloney. well, BS actually. Um, you just buy a new cartridge. And if you're really concerned, you don't want that to end up in a landfill. It is nasty. You can replace the innards, the pads. And Rick Johnson, his website, not website, his eBay store sells everything you need. If you want to just be really, truly um, an ecological giant, and you don't even want to ever throw away that plastic container, buy the resetter. The chips are resettable, or you can just buy chips as well. And I have yet to buy a new one for this printer, for the XP15000 or the G620. It has all of that. So unlike the Pro 1100, the Pro 100, I mean the Pro 1000, yeah, those cartridges, there are ways to really get at the insides and pull them out. If you drill a large diameter hole with one of those big drills, you attach them to a little drill, and it drills a little hole, and then the saw blade, basically a circular saw blade, drills a hole. You can pull out the innards and then just simply reset the chip, cover it with a good type of aluminum tape, that hole, pop it back in. Yeah, the inks will just splash inside, but they're not going to spill all over the place, I don't think. Or you can just pack it with like cotton, anything that's water permeable. Or just spend $15 for God's sakes. You know what you got into when you bought a Pro 1000 and 1100 and higher after that. These are just part of the expenses you have to swallow, in other words. So, yeah, but I just love, especially lately, let me pop this up in case you don't have that. Captain Donzi, he has one? Okay, dude, then that's it. You're it. You're it. You know how to reach me. You have my other email. Just use the one that I just posted. And you're here in Virginia. So I will go ahead and send you that. Okay. So that's a done deal. No more. Okay. So, but yeah, concerning the so-called, they call them absorbent pads. Oh, don't give me this. They have their specific name. If you look it up and use that terminology, you'll never find anything. Okay. It's waste ink tanks or waste ink cartridges, period. That's how I knew immediately this guy had no clue what the hell he's talking about. And they were using AI generated video, and I'm going like, what is all that ink squirting? What are you doing? Yeah. And just the mannerism, the narrative that they were using reminds me of all the BS videos that are on YouTube right now. And I get bombarded by those too. And, everything is a scam out there. So I don't know what he was dealing. I never watched it till the end. I just didn't have it in me to put myself through that. But anyway, thank you, Richard, for sending me that. That just made me think again that still out there's a lot of people trying to push scams. Okay. Not a problem. You are absolutely welcome. Just email me with your address and I will pop it in this week. Send it to you. All right. We were talking about places. Okay, you guys, come to me, whether it's my my Facebook group or my channel, comment on videos that I upload. And by the way, just so everybody, again, a refresher, I'm uploading all my old content as much as I could, save. The first time I got hacked, I was able to download everything that I had at that time. Well, the new stuff I couldn't save, unfortunately. So I am uploading everything that I was able to save the first time before they reestablished me, but this time they did not. They just completely eliminated my channel. So just be aware that what I am discussing on any particular videos is relevant maybe 3-4 years ago. Okay. And if I make a recommendation, Print Prism did not exist. So I'm pushing Color Monkey, I1 Pro Studio, I1 Pro 2, and that sort of thing. For ICC profiles, I'm pushing printers that came out during that era, and so forth. But the technical information is still relevant, so it applies to anything post those videos. Um, in other words, like new printers today, and also color management process that has not changed. That is the same as it was 15 years ago. So I had an individual criticize me for advertising products again, meaning Print Prism. And I thought, oh my God, do you have nothing better to do with your life? You know, I'm doing you a favor, dude. I'm saving you a ton of money and allowing you to produce great prints at the lowest possible cost. Meaning, the production of ICC profiles, which used to be unaffordable for most people. In other words, we had to rely on the professional paper companies to provide us with those, or Precision Colors. Really, it was the only, as far as I know, the only ink provider that provided us with custom-made ICC profiles for a bunch of commonly available papers for many printers, which meant they had to own many printers and buy many types of paper to be able to produce these profiles for us. And they were made for normal illumination, um, certain gallery level color temperature illumination, fluorescent lights. If you were going to put stuff in an office environment, and back in those days, those lights were kind of greenish looking, so you had to compensate for that. So the profile did that for you, and your prints would not come out looking good under your normal lighting, but when you took them to that office environment, whether it's a lawyer's office or whatever, they would look correct because they would be slightly magenta, but the greenish light would neutralize that magenta and they would look normal. Just don't take them home. They will not look normal at home. But yeah, he went through all the trouble providing all of us those variants of profiles. Nobody does that. So anyway, so let's go ahead and let's take a look at some of these forums. Hang on a second. Got one more post here. HC, I think I got that video pushed to me by YouTube as well. I didn't even, yeah, because if you watch anything regarding printing, you're going to get suggested with a bunch of bunk. I didn't even watch it, smelling the nonsense. By the way, in my country, we locally have separate processing and chemical waste. Oh, good. Yeah, well, I don't know whether they do here. I would have to literally go to the dump here in Montgomery County and ask. I know that they do electronic stuff, but the last time I put out some printers outside, I have made an appointment for them to come and pick them up. The dude, super strong dude, by the way, picked up each one, tossed it up in the air, and it crashed into the truck. Boom, crash, boom, nothing gentle. Okay. Here I was trying to be gentle, me and my son taking them outside and powering them up. I got rid of 6 of them. I got 2 more back here that I need to make an appointment to pick up. And I think that's going to be it for now. I'm worried about my 3800, 3880, possibly me having to get rid of it. If they just need waste, they just need the ink, the waste, the black ink valve replaced. And for that, you really just install the whole unit, the ink delivery system. You can buy them on eBay. I just don't want to deal with it. I really don't have any need to. I got a working P800, which is just as good with a roll adapter, so I don't really need those 2 units. If anybody wants to come to my house and grab them and take them, no questions asked, just take them. I cannot help you with anything. Just take them and you can have the pleasure of working on them yourself. Maybe you can revive them. I've been able to get all the 8 colors to print, but not the black. The valve is just not allowing black ink to flow for some reason. All right, let's take a look at some of these. So DP, Delta Papa Review. Let me pop this over. It's a multi, it's probably one of the most, the hugest multi-purpose in the technical area of photography technology um, forum you will ever run into. I used to be a very, very, very active member there, um, basically posting a reply to just about everything that got posted, and I became sort of like one of the top providers. I just quit. They were going to close it completely down, and they did for a while. Then it came back. Somehow it was able to be reestablished, and I never really got into it. But let's take a look at it. I'll leave the other one open. The other one is actually printer knowledge, which I also was very active with. So let's take a look at this. So in order to get to what, our nitty gritty, if you will, you have to go here and then very carefully scroll down, go to PC Talk, Mac Talk, printer and printing and retouching. So you can see lots of subjects here, all of them pertaining to cameras and just about everything under the sun having to do with photography. So printers and printing. Okay, so here's something right off the top. Let's go ahead and take a look. So I have already logged on, Q image, and Epson P900 problems. And I know that like Mike Cheney, he doesn't have the time to be, trolling these forums. And I used to have more time in my hands before, but not any longer. Has anyone else run into problems using QImage to print on an Epson P900, P700, or P5300? Periodically, when I try to print from QImage, the file will be sent to the printer, but nothing will print. Okay, right out of the, starting gate, I'm thinking, well, how are you transmitting this image to the printer? I'm thinking maybe Wi-Fi. Okay, it should be USB. Okay, my Wi-Fi printers are solely for text. My wife got I had a procedure done, and they sent us a PDF with the photos of the endo, and I open it up and I printed on her XP15000 on Wi-Fi using a generic driver. I'm not even using the real driver. She doesn't have to have color correction. Just print it. It prints pretty well. Okay. And so I would not be sending, 40 megabytes of image via Wi-Fi like that to a printer. Let's continue and see what's happening here. Other times the image will come out much too light and off color. Nothing. Oh my God. Okay, I think this is why I quit hanging around this forum. Even after contacting Mike at QImage, I have no solution. He seems to think the problem is with the print driver or printer, even though I can print without problems using Epson print layout. User error, period. Trust me, folks. I've been using QImage as far as I can remember. Okay, it's not QImage. Okay, I have even tried to turn off the printer spooling and printing directly to the printer. This seems to reduce the problem of not having anything print, but has not eliminated it entirely. I am wondering if any of you have had these problems and found a solution. No. I tend to believe that Mike may be correct about the problem having something to do with the printer or the driver, since I never had these problems with a older P7600 I also wonder if it has something to do with the later version of QImage. I look forward, okay, and I'm asking, wait a second, what is your operating system? So let's see, this is the guy, and this is his gear list. So I'm wondering, he's just talking about his hardware, his cameras and such, and not necessarily what he's printing from, whether it is, which OS. In other words, you know what I'm getting at. I've had the piece. Somebody answers. I've had my piece of 5370 for 2 years. Never had a problem like you've experienced. I'm printing from Lightroom Classic on a Mac, even on a Mac. Only problem I had very frequently is infrequently, maybe 3 times total, was a larger print dropping off the middle, which was in the first 6 months. I believe that was caused by Wi-Fi dropping, and switch to Ethernet cable have not had an occurrence. Okay, well, Ethernet. I don't hook anything via Ethernet. I don't have to. Just USB is fine. USB 3 or better. Okay, it's easy enough to verify. Whoever this guy is, JPEG man. I don't recognize any of these people. He's from Medford, Massachusetts, senior member. That used to be me, senior member. I was like top senior. If the later versions of QImage are part of the problem, ask Mike for a link to previous versions. You don't even have to ask. They're available. Okay? Yeah. Good Lord. The problem seems to happen only with QImage. Thanks for your reply. Baloney. Well, actually, from what you have said before, I do think it might be the printer driver. Oh gosh, what is my reasoning? The fact that you said that printing from Epson Print Layout does not give you any issues. That Epson program has the driver built in. And as long as there are no updates to the Epson software, your driver and the built-in one remains the same. QImage, though, uses a standalone driver. So to make it does make sense what Mike is saying. I would, if Mike told me to touch that hot iron, because it's not really hot, I would touch that hot iron. Okay. Okay, that was dumb, but you know what? I trust him. I trust his intelligence, his experience. Okay. Let me see. Well, actually, from what you have said before, I do think it might be the printer driver. That I don't know what is my reason. In fact, that you said printing from. Okay, I already read that. Is there a possibility for you to get an older printer driver? Of course you can. If so, delete the current one, and yeah, many others can chime in and tell you. I want to know what it's printing out of. What OS? Okay, this is Alan Lind. I have a relative new P900 QMH1 Mac. Seems not to have those issues. Okay, QMH1 is for Mac. My problem is on uneven border installer, smaller. My problem is an uneven border smaller than on the trailing edge out of it. Of course it is. Oh, good Lord. Of course it is. Those are margins, not borders. Margins. Borders you create. Margins are built into the driver, and they are not adjustable. Okay. I mean, the minimum. In other words, you cannot just push them all the way to the edge and not have to enlarge your image to print borderless, let's just say. No. So the paper emerges. You install the paper. Like this. This will be your leading edge. This is your trailing edge. In this case, I told QImage to give me, I think it was like a point 0.3 border. So it applied a point 0.3 border all around. Notice it's still not even. That's because paper positioning is not perfect ever. Just because those margins automatically center themselves does not mean that they are actually aligned with the imaginary central axis of your printer, the printing axis. They could be slightly laterally off. You're never going to get absolute perfect borders unless you print this particular size on a larger piece of paper and then very carefully on your trimmer trim those borders so you get the nice even borders, which this does not have. This is 5x7 paper. It could be that this is not really 5x7 paper, that this is maybe a little bit wider. Who knows? So even though it is centering, quote unquote, it's really not centering it. All right. So the idea or the thought that you're going to get perfect centering and perfect borders, stop thinking that, please. Oh, I don't want to get snarky here. Sorry. I apologize. But yeah, accept that. It's not going to happen. It ain't going to happen. Okay, unless you're on a roll printer and you never remove that roll. That paper will never shift. That whole 100-foot roll will stay put. So if you do get slight errors, you can adjust for them and rely that the alignment of the paper will remain constant, but not with cut paper or cut sheets. It ain't going to happen. Okay, I'm going to do a couple more. Okay, so sorry to hear that you have been experiencing those issues. This is Gryphon 69, whoever that is. Are you Mac based or Windows based? If Mac, which OS do you have installed? I regularly see QImage on a Mac running OS Sequoia. I have not upgraded to Tahoe yet, printing on a P5370, and everything works just as fine as always. Have you tried to delete and reinstall the printer? I want to hear what he's using. I am on PC, okay? Then you should not have that any kind of issue, even after multitude updates. And it's not like Mac has these named OS updates, which are named after Northern California sites, and you're making a massive replacement. Windows 10, Windows 11, it's just tiny little updates every month or whatever, and I have them installed automatically. There's no more updates for me anyway. I'm still in Windows 10. I have never had an issue pertaining to my OS having been updated and printing. Never, 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 never. Even ancient printers like my R300 series, which is back in the early 2000s, never had an issue. Those drivers back then, 15, 18 years ago, still work today. Okay, that doesn't really happen with the other OS. For some reason, it's like they stop supporting and they are no longer, I don't know. Again, I just don't understand the logic between not having a universal system for both operating systems, for printing, that is. It should be universal. It should not be, well, I use Mac. Oh no, dude, I use Windows only. No, it should be universal. And the drivers should be identical regardless what OS you install them under. That way, everybody that uses a P900 uses the same process to print, not having to rely on a different color management process for Mac opposed to Windows. That's why QImage 1 was created, to handle that issue. The guy who created it is a Apple developmental group member. He knows his okay, and he knows what's going on. He knows this is true, and so he tried to solve that issue for us photo printers by creating Mac uh, version of QImage, QImage 1. And then he also made one for Windows. What do you know about that? Which is just like a much less features, but only the main printing features that you really need to produce excellent results on either OS. I've been successfully using QImage on my P900 for about 3-4 years. I'm on a PC, Windows 11. What type of correction are you using between your PC and the P900? Connection, Wi-Fi. Told you, told you. And this is what they used to. Some people used to hate me because I would immediately hit it right on the head of the nail. Okay, I would immediately hit it, and the myriad of other weird answers and suggestions, and try this, try that were irrelevant. And I'm not showing off. Okay, I'm sorry if I come across that way, but it used to drive me nuts. So I would immediately close the issue by giving the guy or girl the correct answer, and that would solve the problem. The end of the thread. That's it. I got tired of doing that, so I stopped. This is why after they basically terminated the website, I stopped. I never came back. It was just 2 days ago that I decided to check, and I thought it might be a good idea to discuss some of this for you guys to see. But feel free. Look at this, goes on forever. Let me see what the last post was. Thanks for your reply. I've been using wired Ethernet, recently switched to USB so far. Seems to solve the problem, but I have only run a few prints. The problem will not come back, friend. Okay. I know my problems do not make sense. Yeah, they do not. I certainly do not understand what is just has happened. Well, that could be a possible answer. There's a lot of people come here to learn, and there's a lot of people that come here that need to learn. Okay, and before I even posted my first comment, my first suggestion years ago, I trolled. I just hung around in the background and looked up what people were asking. Oh my God, my favorite question. Prints are too dark. Okay, I gotta breathe. Okay, let's get going here. I have been struggling forever trying to not have my prints turn out darker than I intended. I can answer that in maybe 4 sentences, short ones. But I'm too curious. I need to see. I have not seen this yet. The one I switched to, wait a minute. I was using a print lab that I was generally happy with, but switched when I kept getting dark prints. The real one I switched to the one that I switched to seems better, but I'm still occasionally wrestling with this issue. I was suggested that I try turning down the brightness of my monitor. Yes and no, but this does not seem to be a satisfactory solution. No matter how low I set my brightness, it is impossible to even get closely match my prints to what I see on the computer. Okay, I know about the idea that a printed image will never look as bright as it does. That's what I see on the screen, so I am now make it a little brighter than I need intent. Oh my God. Okay, so my favorite analogy is that I bought a roll of frozen cookie dough pack. I sliced them 1/4 inch thick, just like they say. Set my oven to 350. Wait 15 minutes for the temperature to hit 350. I put my cookies on a tray, put them in the middle tray, because the upper tray is always a little hotter than the bottom tray. So the middle tray. And 12 minutes later, I'm supposed to have perfectly baked cookies, except they are slightly burnt. So what's happening here? Either the time is wrong, or the temperature is wrong, or my oven's thermostat is wrong. So I buy one of those laser thermometers and I point it at the inside, and I see that the temperature inside is not 350, it's 375. Do I then adjust my my thermostat instead of 350 to 325? Sure, that will fix that. I let the oven cool down. I take another temperature reading. Now it's 350, even though the thermostat says 325. I don't want to live with that. I want a thermostat that is accurate. What I put on my thermostat needs to match what my internal temperature of my preheated oven is. When I print and edit, not print yet, when I edit my images and they match what I see on my monitor, I want my printer to reproduce them at approximately the same level of brightness. He is correct. Backlighting your image on your screen is more brilliant, more pop, more impact than looking at it on a dull matte paper, just such as this. But trust me, this is not darker than what I saw on my monitor. So how the heck is that possible? If I turn that one off, look at how dark it is in here. That's how I work. So when I calibrate, I don't mean just using the little buttons to adjust my brightness. You have to use a calibrator. You cannot use the little buttons. A calibrator. The calibrating software has some settings, some brightness settings for your monitor. You want them to be set so that something, let me point at something, maybe right here, that area there, that is being depicted as black. I don't want to see any kind of, I don't want to see any of those little diodes on my monitor lighting up. They need to be off, like no power to them. So anything black should be off. If I'm working in an office environment with a million lights, I have to crank it up because it just looks too dim. And now my blacks actually have density. I look at they have density on them, and it should be black. But if I set it to a correct illumination setting, it'll be too dark for my environment. So you need to work in a dark environment. People will never accept that. Oh, I don't want to work in the folks. I've been through several professional level video editing labs. I wish I had also done it for photo, but this was for video, and you could not read a newspaper. It was so damn dark in there. But just like at the movie theater, and I say this a million times, when you're looking at the feature presentation, what happens to the theater lights? They get turned off. It is freaking dark in there. If all the lights get turned off, except for the emergency exit lights, you can't see your hand in front of you. That's how dark you watch a movie at the theater. You don't have to work that dark in your editing location, but it has to be dark so that then you can set your monitor brightness at a CDM 60, 70, as high as 80, but not 140, 150, 160 like out of the box. It's too damn bright. What causes you to then edit your images the wrong way? They look too bright, so you darken them. Guess what you're sending to the printer, sir? You're sending a dark image to the printer. So therefore, whether it's an external lab doing the work for you or your own printer next to your table, you're printing a dark image. And of course, it prints dark. But on your monitor, it looks correct because your monitor is super bright. Make sense? Oh, I cannot, but I cannot tell. How do I know? Look at the histogram. It'll be shifted to the dark side. All the tonal values will be on the left. You're right now, but you know what I mean. It'll be shifted to the dark side of the histogram. Okay, it should be evenly spread. If you have a low key image, you should still have some data on the bright side, on the 255, and also some data on the black. But the rest of the tonal values, yeah, they'll be shifted over to the left side. If it's a high key, the same thing. You still have a just above black tone, just below white tone, and most of the values will be shifted to the bright side of the histogram. If you have a standard image loaded, you will immediately notice how evenly distributed the tonal values are on your histogram. They are even, absolutely even. And so when you print the standard image, and this is what I don't get, I bet you $1 million that if you send that standard image to that printer, that printing lab that is creating dark prints for you, they will create a correctly rendered image of that print of that standard image. It will not be dark. Why? Because you did not alter it. Yeah, but it looked bright on my. Of course it did. Your monitor was too bright, so the standard image looks too bright, and you are just attempting. You're just dying to darken it. Don't do that. Set yourself a dark environment in your calibration software. Set it to CDM 60 or 70, maybe 80. Right now it's set to 80. But I set it sometimes to 70 just to, in case I completely close everything down, and I set it a little bit darker, and it works. It works. I never have an issue with my prints printing too dark. Absolutely not. Never. It hasn't happened in over 2 decades. Okay. Let me look at the next one. Let's close this one down. And there's a million questions. You can spend hours, and this is why I just didn't have the time to do that. So this is DP review. I'm sorry. That's the one we just left. Sorry. This is printer knowledge. And printer knowledge is a fraction of what DP review is. It's all about printing. So here we go. Let's take a quick look at that. I am logged on, so let's see what we have here. Let me see if I even have a message. No. Like I said, it's been ages since I come in here. So, okay, let's see, Mac OS and Windows for Argyle. Argyle is for creation of profiles. I don't even know how to do that. So let's take a look at this real quick here. I'm keep looking at the time because my wife went to a meeting and I left the door open for her, and I hope someone's bringing her home. So I left the door unlocked. For okay, Canon Pro 200 not printing, PC, M, Y, N, PM. Oh boy, let's take a look at my recently printed. I just printed this just before I came on, and notice the type of nozzle check that the Pro 200 uses is more like what the Pro 1000 uses, with the little checks, checkerboard type looking, crisscross. PC is there, magenta is there, yellow there, PM is there, C is there, BK, LG, Y, and GY. All the colors are there, and they are completely there as well. So, which tells me that everything is hunky-dory. Another thing you have to look for is those black bars. They should be the same color. Okay, if you have different colors, you have an issue, and it depends on the ink. So there was a slight difference, and it's here. I could see it. That's really something that even Precision Colors could not solve. The photo magenta And I don't have my light, sorry. The photo magenta black bar is a tiny, tiny, tiny bit warmer than the one for the magenta. The magenta matches the others, but the photo magenta is just a tiny, and that's just something that you just could not really solve. But it doesn't really affect your printed photographs at all. So I wouldn't worry about that. It's just something for the technical minded person who wants to, you know, examine to the last bit of detail their nozzle check. So let's go ahead and see why this person is having an issue here. So I just clicked on the image, and gosh, folks, if you're going to post an image, please fix it before you do that. I'm not talking to you guys. I'm talking to these people here because, good Lord, this is like middle gray. It should be white. Um, yeah, and it's off color too to top it off. So let me back out because I really cannot see what the heck is even going on there. So, all right. So the thing I do not understand how the perch pads end up. Wait a minute. What are you talking about? Okay, the thing I do not understand is how the perch pads end up covered with ink after the head cleaning attempt, but yet the nozzle check doesn't show anything at all. I saw stuff. Okay. Oh, that's from the hat. Oh gosh. This is like the moderator. This guy is out of his mind. I don't know how he still considers himself capable of doing this. The perch pad unit is the vital piece of the print nozzle, the print puzzle, and it is not working properly, then you get strange nozzle checks. That's why I asked you to check your perch pad. Should be given a bath. What? Okay, a bath every 6 months. Perch unit attaches to the underside of the print head. Vacuum sucks the ink out and then mechanically through the nozzles. Not electronic, not electricity is used, even if they are electrically damaged. That's why you can see ink. Oh, okay. So all he's saying is that check the nozzle pad to see if it's wet. What he's trying to say is that the I have a Canon printhead right here. Okay, the perch pad matches this shape. The printhead moves over to the perch pad and it comes down. The perch unit will attach to that. There's a gasket that is like a soft silicone, and it attaches and seals itself to it as long as the gasket is not damaged. If it's a nice, smooth, clean gasket, it will attach. Vacuum is then applied, and mechanically through suction, ink droplets are drawn from each and every single nozzle, whether they are electronically damaged or not. He said no. If it's physically damaged, meaning ink cannot pass through it due to mechanical issues, physical damage issues, you will not get any ink out of that nozzle. Okay. So then once that process ends, the printhead detaches, moves over to the left, and then the suction unit, the peristaltic pump, comes into play. You hear that noise. It's a continuous noise. That's not the cleaning cycle. The cleaning cycle was silent. That noise is draining the pad. Whether there's any issues with the printhead or not, you should not see a puddle of ink on the perch pad. It should be dirty black, but it should be empty. Okay. So if he's not seeing, say, the left side of that nozzle check printing at all, usually you see like little portions here and there not printing. but not like complete the first four. That means that particular section, because Canon printheads are subdivided into sections of 4 or 5. And so if that first group 1 is not printing, you see absolutely blank. And also it would have to have, where did I get that image from? Let me back up. I was just looking at that image earlier. I don't know where I got it from. Let's take a look and see. I don't dare even answer because this guy does not like me anymore. So where did I get that image? It was here early. Oh, here it is. Sorry about that. There it is. Okay, so it's partial. It's not complete. So he's good. It's not an electronic failure. The magenta seems to be completely gone. Yellow is about 80% there. For magenta, maybe only like 15%, 20%. Well, cleaning cycle, rest, nozzle check. Now here, okay, so I did not read the rest of this. I found what I thought was a helpful YouTube video. Spent the last 2 days cleaning the printhead with a mix of distilled water, isopropyl alcohol, household ammonia. It's suggested lots of coal, lots of old ink came out, and eventually the little sponges and the cartridges fit in, went away, went gray, and did not. Wait a minute, and no more ink was coming out. Okay, so I dried it all out over 24 hours. You should not dry it. And excitedly printed a new nozzle jet after running a clean cycle twice, as I suggested elsewhere. So now your left group is not even printing. Try to deep clean, just those colors, but it didn't help. And I see this is probably in the UK or Europe, the way they spell color. I presume at this point the printhead is a write-off, but before I spent the frankly unbelievable 170 euros or pounds for replacement, can anyone tell me if that is likely to fix the issue? Yeah, of course. I'd like to spend 120 on ink and then another, yeah. Oh well, sorry, I should have said the inks I bought were genuine. Okay. Sorry, I should have said the inks I bought were genuine. I bought the whole set, so every cartridge has been replaced. And then the hat says, Mr. Leprechaun says, try removing the cards and printhead and placing the printhead on a small bowl of warm water with some very fluid liquid in it. Let it stand for 2 hours, several hours, and then repeat the warm washing liquid. Leave it overnight. No, don't dry. Anyway, no. Let me explain. I love these guys. Hang on a second. I'm going to close that. Here's what happened. I hear my wife upstairs. I think she got home. Here's what happens. He didn't say how old this was. So Canon printheads wear out. They wear themselves out. Like I said, they are segmented into zones. So I think this is shot. You do not get a complete zone just disappear on you. Okay. It's like Christmas light strings for your tree. And if one light goes out, the whole thing goes out. So if that whole set of 4 channels is not printing, and you did this cleaning, soaking it in a little bowl with paper towels underneath, and use Windex with ammonia filter in the US. Do not use alcohol, or doesn't really work that well. Rick Johnson has the best formulation actually for cleaning cartridges, which also works for cleaning printheads. And then when you are done rinsing it, every drop of color has been rinsed and there's no more color coming out, don't dry it. Just let it sit for a few hours again on top of a very soft paper towel, soaking some of the liquid out. And then make sure that the back of it, the electronic plate in the back, is fully dry. Reinstall it and install the cartridges. Cleaning cycles should flush out any remnants of water. And if you still have that zone gone, you need a new printhead. I'm sorry, but you need a new printhead. That's just the way it is. That's why they make them replaceable. People think that they're never going to have to replace their printhead. Of course you will. It's part of the game. It's part of the game. You have to do that eventually at some point. Whether because you're using really bad inks from China, which is normally what you buy on eBay and Alibaba and those sites, they really don't deliver ink that well. Your nozzles are constantly starving from ink, and then they overheat because the ink acts as a cooling agent. As you are printing, you're developing heat. These are thermal printheads. They work on heat, and you want to maintain that heat at a certain operating level, what they are designed to be at, not hotter than necessary. That will diminish the lifespan of your printhead. My Pro 100 that I have now replaced with a new one had a printhead that had not been replaced for 13 years. Eventually, it just threw a unrepairable P200 error at me, and I tried replacing the printhead, but the contacts on the assembly were not good anymore, and I kept getting all kinds of irregular errors. And so I said, "The heck with it!" I threw it away, and I got a new one. My other two, I had two in boxes, and those are still new. So I installed one, and it was perfect. Of course, it's perfect, with a new printhead. So that just, people are just shocked that they have to replace a printhead. And 100 and what was it, 120, 30, I think it was pounds. It didn't look like an E. So that would be what, I don't know, $200. Um, yeah, that's what it costs. Okay. But the 200 costs you, I don't know, what was the price for the 200 initially? 600, 700, 800, I don't remember. I never really bought a new one. I have one now from Rick Johnson, who gave me his. Anyway, yeah. So if you would like, go ahead and try some of these forums. If you are at a certain level of knowledge, you can possibly enjoy a career of helping out people. You may become well known, famous, if you will. Uh, except for the hat guy, he's the moderator, and he's kind of I don't know how to describe him. He did some really, really stupid things that it just made your head rattle. Um, the He absolutely ruined a couple of Canon brand new editions that came out, with the Pro One, and I forget which the other one was, by doing some really dumb things. And then, of course, he could not fix it. He didn't believe in profiling. Really? So how do you adjust color? I do it in Photoshop. So you have to compensate for print errors that you see on paper by then changing your image so it doesn't look normal anymore, but it prints normal. Something is wrong with your thinking process. Something is really wrong with your printing process. Don't do that. Okay, let's go ahead. So that was DP Delta Papa Review Romeo Review dpreview.com. Become a member, get an account. It's free, and then You can look at all sorts of different forums. Be aware that you're going to be bombarded by. If you're a rank beginner, then you'll find it a treasure trove of information because everything you read you have never heard about. But if you're experienced with 20, 25 years of doing this, then you're going to find yourself laughing most of the time. And it's good entertainment, I guess, if at all. But give it a try. I certainly did enjoy my years that I spent participating with them. And then printerknowledge.com and just put up with the hat. He's a character. These are the guys that I'll leave you with this because it's hilarious. So Canon, right? Canon sponge cartridge. And these are really the best possible cartridge for you to modify and then refill. The chips are resettable. This is the CLI 42. Chips are resettable, Pro 100, obviously. You remove this little piece of tape here, remove that ball by sticking something sharp in it and just levering it off. Drill the seat 5/32 of an inch diameter, and now you fit a plug in there. It should fit snug. You get this little holder, pop it on the bottom. It's already been flushed at this point and dried. Add ink. It will then migrate into the sponge. You keep adding ink until you're just below that seat. Put the plug in it, and you're ready to pop this in your printer. Well, this one is not modified, so I want to be able to fill my cartridges without performing that ball removal. How do I go about doing that? Let me get a dry one because I don't want to make a mess here. Okay, so this one's dry. Now, what did these people do? The liquid side, there's a wall right here. There's a wall right there. You see that? So there's two compartments, the sponge compartment and the liquid ink compartment. At the bottom of this vertical wall, right in the center, and the floor of this, there's a tiny opening. That's how the ink enters the sponge. It starts filling the sponge from the bottom up. So how could I possibly get ink in this chamber without removing the ball? I don't have a needle here. I'll use that little needle. I'll just leave it in the bottle. Okay, so make believe this is a longer needle, about that long, maybe 2 inches, 2.5 inches maybe. So guess what I do? This was called the German method. You drill a hole right here, centered, but just above the floor, this floor right here of the cartridge. And then you carefully stick a needle, and the best needle to use is one with a bevel. And you don't want to disturb that sponge. You don't want to pop it off so that it no longer makes contact with the bottom of the cartridge. Notice how it's touching the bottom? You don't want to lift that sponge up. So you need a sharp needle, and you go literally through the sponge, and then you emerge through that little opening. So you're going to have to poke around and figure out where that opening is. And then once you're in, you will see the needle poking out. Then you inject the ink and you fill that space with ink, and then remove that. They did not even put tape on that, and they were then reusing those cartridges that way. They swore that it worked. And blah 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 blah. And there was a constant war between people who did that method and the traditional one of drilling a hole on the after you remove the ball and just topping off. They call it topping off, and so toward top refilling. So constant war between those folks. What is that? Well, that's an attachment that I made to suck water out after you flush them. But So anyway, imagine that having a hole on your cartridge. And some people never even taped it. They just popped them back into the printer. Supposedly, I guess the hydraulics did not allow the ink to leave or leak out. I never understood that aspect of it, but this is how they did it. And of course, eventually we won. Now you could use the original vacuum method that the factory uses. Um, Rudy Hallamum has 3D printed units that simulate that. You pop the cartridge in place, you seal it in place, use a syringe, create a vacuum, put it upside down, and then the liquid will go in through the exit port and basically fill everything up via vacuum. It makes sense, but it's a little bit messy. He does it all the time that way, and it's working perfectly for him. You have to be used to it. It's a little bit more difficult. You require the hardware to be able to perform this, but you never have to modify your cartridges. And then you retain something very important, which does not happen when you drill that hole. You see how the top is not really filled to the top? It never really becomes saturated. The saturation has to be at the bottom half, not necessarily at the top. This is an untempered, partially used OEM cartridge. Okay? By using the vacuum method, you will remain the same here, the same condition you see here. And that is the proper condition. Otherwise, it just becomes fully saturated. You no longer see the two halves. That doesn't seem to affect ink delivery. Some people will argue one way or another. I try to stay neutral. Both methods work. You choose the one that is best for you. Oh, this is what I use to remove the ball. I don't know if you can see here. It's a little eyelet screw. So I find the ball, I force it in, screw this a couple of turns, and pop it off. Okay, it makes it so much easier. Jolly Snyder is here from rainy Huntsville, Alabama. Welcome. Nice to have you. Okay, so as you all know, 2026 arrived, 210, version 210. So I asked him what is new. Notice there has not been any new issues. I think at this point he has reached that level where really there's no need to improve any further. I need to find some of this matte paper. Let me see if I still have it here. Here it is. I want to do one demo. Let's move this ink down to the bottom here. There we go. I want to do one demo using a better image, one that I know has autogamma colors. Let me go ahead and locate that. So I'll open up QImage. Let it load. Okay, so let's open up Richard Bender's latest image folder. I did not download the one you just sent me. In fact, let me take a quick look at that. I know you sent me something just recently. On transfer now, go to download and download the file. It's a wedding picture, right? Yes. Got it. Got it. Okay. Now, here it is. Let me put it on your folder. a second. Richard Bender's latest images. Here we go. Pop it in there. Then reload his folder, and it should be located here. You said it was a wedding picture? Is that? No. That's it right here, right? Yeah. Ooh, nice. Corona. Cerveza Corona. Nice. Very good. That's gorgeous. Let's not crop it. Okay, so that's the whole. This is in 5x7. But I'm going to save this for a later date, because what I want to do is, I know there's one image here that is way over the top as far as color goes. This one. So I'm going to do one using the normal profile. So let me find that. This is one that I just recently created, so it should be very simple to find. If I could find my cursor, it would be easier. All right, so this is the high, and this is the low. So or the normal. So I'm going to use that first, and I want to make sure that's relative colorimetric. Now, you could soft proof this through that particular profile by clicking here. And yeah, I don't think it's going to come out that dull. But anyway, no, I don't think it's going to have that level of change. All right, so I think we're ready. This is luster, sorry. I need to change this to, I think I used presentation paper matte to create the profile with. Yeah, so there we go, matte, high. So we'll do the high, and then I will change for the high, oh, I'm sorry, wrong thing. For the high, what am I doing? Come here, and then use perceptual for the high. And then we'll do one with the normal profile using relative colorimetric. I think I got it. Okay, so we'll compare the two and see if there's any difference between the really intense colors in this photograph. So let that baby load, and then I'll switch over the settings to the other profile and change it to relative colorimetric. Now, you probably get a better result if you print on a luster or a glossy, but I did not make a pair of profiles for a glossy paper yet. Okay, so this is the one for high, and that was done on relative colorimetric, on perceptual. Right there, perceptual. Now we're going to do relative and pick the normal one. And this will be the normal, the one that doesn't say high. So relative, black point comp. Both of them have black point compensation. And then print. So this is the high one. And again, I apologize not having my light. I don't know where I put it. I was doing something in my shop the other day and I obviously forgot to bring it back. So this is with, so Red River Polar Matte, 8550, PP 210. This is high and perceptual, I'll write the whole word, perceptual. And yeah, it looks bright. This is the one using the normal. Oh yeah, I can immediately see the difference. So 8550, Red River for matte, Print Prism 210, and normal. And relative. So the normal one is at the bottom here. Let me orient this so that it sort of matches. Let's see if I can do this halfway. Set it up so it's approximately the same size. That's what the monitor is showing now. So at the bottom here we have normal. This is normal. This is high gamut, including more colors, bringing colors in. So the top one is the high gamut, the bottom one is the normal one, which will exclude certain outer gamut colors. You can immediately see the difference. So the question is, does this match that result better than this one? Remember, those colors are outer gamut. In this case, I don't know. This seems to be a better rendition to what I see, as opposed to this one, which seems to be the bottom one, seems to be a bit over enhanced. In other words, it took those colors that were already in gamut and printed them as it thinks it should have, according to the profile and my settings. So again, you have to experiment, and there are three choices for that. Three different choices that you can choose from: the normal, the medium, and the high. I wouldn't recommend, making a set of three profiles. No, I wouldn't recommend that. And I have yet to say print the one with high using relative. What would be the point of that? So, I mean, relative. The normal one you use relative on, and the one with the high gamut setting you use perceptual. And if I showed people, let me look at it myself here. Yeah, the one relative is a little bit brighter pinks in that area. The sunset clouds are a little bit brighter. Let me bring myself to full screen here, and I'm going to try to angle this so you can see it best. You see the orange clouds? There's a difference. So you choose whatever setting suits you the best. If you think this rendition is the best, then use normal. Don't adjust that to a high setting. Okay. It's not like super different. It's a very subtle difference, not too crazy, but there is a difference. Now I would like to see like this calibration, showing every patch. Yeah, but you just have to rely on what you see with your eyes. Gotcha. I need to find my light setup. There you go. So the top one is the normal with relative colorimetric. The bottom one is the one with the high gamut, bringing more colors in, forcing colors into the gamut bubble. In other words, yeah, there's a difference. So at least we get to choose, one over the other depending on what your tastes are like. And again, I wonder how this would look on that super bright metallic paper. It might be even a lot easier to see the differences. 20 BCRP and then a number. Better late than never. Nigel Water. Hello, Nigel. From Wales, UK. Canon Pro 300 with all the trimmings. Judy Ann, thank you, my dear. You guys don't have to do this, but I do appreciate it when you do. One recommendation: if you want to monetarily donate to the channel will receive a higher percentage if you just go to my PayPal link, and that's located in that little app that I have. I will post it at the bottom. An individual did send me a donation through that, which will be put to use. Trust me. But I appreciate that because what happens is that YouTube takes a percentage of this. Sure, it is instantly added, but they still take a percentage. So if you just use the this link right here, and you cannot click on it, you have to copy it. But I'll show you what you end up at. You will end up here. This was created for me by Mike Cheney. So these are all the links, and then this is PayPal. So you can just go there, and I could donate to myself, in other words. And that's what you normally do. You would then log in, and then send a donation. They only take like 1 or 2%, something like that, maybe 3%, which is a lot better than what YouTube does. But I appreciate it. I really, really, really do. Thank you so much. I'll tell my wife that my other Judy Ann donated to the channel. Thank you. All right. Oh, thank you. The next time, wow. Thank you. Sometimes I get lost. I don't have words when people are so generous. It gets me. Let me go ahead and close Q image, and I don't fully close it. I just do system tray, and then it stays basically open in the background and conducts that operation every day for my Pro 1000 and my Pro 1, so that it continues to print without having to do a small little test of a patch of lines. Now I'm gonna go another 20. Let me see, 135. So let's do another 15 minutes here. Um, what could happen that will cause you to have a horrible experience with Print Prism? And Mike touched on this last week. Somebody was using Linux to try to use Print Prism. And no, it has to be Windows. I'm sorry. But I think it was using Linux, but with what do they call that when you fool it to think it's using Windows? That type of setup. But no, that gets into software uh, reasons. But let's just talk about things that could happen. And the most important thing is creating that chart correctly. And in case you haven't seen the chart, and I know you all have, but here's one, little 5x7 one. And this is how it's meant to look like on an 11 by 8.5. So quite a difference, but imagine if I could do half a sheet on a paper that might cost me $4 a sheet. I can never turn down saving. Okay, it's always worthwhile to, you know, do the half a sheet, and then you have a 5x7 left or half a sheet left that you can then use to print a test print, something like this. For instance, I have some sample papers that I only have a few sheets per. I don't want to waste a whole sheet of paper just to create a full chart when I can get the same results out of half a sheet. And then I still have half a sheet to test some image that I may want to see how well this profile, behaves. So make sure that when you open up Print Prism, and now it's pretty much automatic, but let me show you what they incorporated. And I'm pretty sure you guys saw this. But just in case, let me open up Print Prism. We'll pop it over here. So, excuse me. So now you really, like for me, I am always going to be using my 8550 scanner. So I don't need to do anything. All I have to do is print the target. Okay. Now what it will do, wait a minute, print the target. I thought you needed QImage to print the target with. No, they incorporated that into 210. And that was huge. So, and also I think it was 200 also. So anyway, you print the target and you get this. Boom, already right there. You have number 1, number 2, number 3, and this. Print Prism has already disabled color management in the driver. That would be an error you would make if you were not printing with QImage Ultimate, let's just say. And this wasn't available, say an earlier version. You would print that target, but not fully disabling color management. Because whatever application you open that target with cannot interfere in the color management realm. It has to send that information to the printer through the driver in RAW, which also means the driver has to be set to off. So off and off, fully RAW. And so that is handled automatically. That would be a big error. For instance, if I am in the i1 Pro software or Color Monkey or Studio or whatever, or any other company's software, and I generate a set of patches, a chart inside their software, and then I want to print that chart, it has to be off. So, I mean, you have to assume that the software that generates that set of patches will send it to the printer without altering anything in RAW form. But then the printer has to be set to off, and that you got to do manually. So you have to go into the printer's color settings and set it to no color management. It'll differ depending on the printer brand and the driver itself. Where do you go do this, in other words? So why not have everything done automatically for you? Hey, why not, right? So let's just say I am printing this on my Pro 200. So, okay, fine. So let's go ahead and do that. You see right here, click on that and locate your Pro 200. Boom. Now it's set up to print in the Pro 200. properties. Why do I have to go into properties? Well, I need to choose a paper type. So let's just say I'm printing on Canon Glossy 2. So there it is right there in high quality, 8.5 by 11. And make sure that there's no color management. But do I really have to check? If you're curious, you can check. Let's just be curious and check. Matching, none. See that? So I really didn't have to check. So this is now set. I can load some Glossy 2 paper in my Canon Pro 200 and print this. Now you just print. Okay, you're done. Once it's finished printing, you're going to scan the target. Well, I have to sort of give it a name. So if it's Canon Glossy 2, I will type that in. I will keep PP 210. I would add Pro 200 Canon Glossy 2. And that's it. Once you do that and you enter that in there, it will be added to the storage folder for the scan. And it will also be added to the storage folder for the actual profile you will then generate. Whoop. Hang on, let me save this. I don't need to have that open anymore because we're going to end with this. So that's it. At that point, you just basically are going to print it. Then you let it dry. And once it is dry, you're going to pop it in your scanner and lighten it up as best you can. And then you're just going to, you've already created the name. You're just going to go ahead and, where's the scan? Right here, scan target. And that is it. Once you're done, it will locate the corners. And this is happening as you just kick back. Oh, one thing you have to choose is how many scans do you want to stack? And like I explained on an earlier video, if you're using a spectrophotometer, such as this one right here, the light source that performs the actual sampling of each patch pulses at 200 pulses per second. So the slower you go across that row, the more pulses will be sampling that particular patch. When something as tiny as the ones from Pre-Prism, it really makes absolutely no sense to scan it with a spectrum unless you're going snail pace. And it will take, I don't know, maybe 2 hours to scan that, maybe more. So let a scanner do that. It will scan it one time and it will then go back and rest. I want it to rest for 20 seconds right here. I can let it rest for 10, 20, 30, or 60. And I want the maximum. If the maximum had been 10, I would choose 10. Oh, that's redundancy. I want redundancy. I want the most accurate, absolute. Even if I cannot see the difference, I want it. So 5 scans at 20 seconds cooldown. So it will scan the first time, it will return and wait 20 seconds. That motor assembly has to cool down. What operated that scanner sensor has to cool down. You cannot continually be scanning. It will overheat. So give it a cool down. I ended up at 20 seconds being this, the best for me. And then it will perform the second scan and the third scan and the fourth scan and the fifth. And then it will take all of those scans. All of those images are still transient. They're still floating up in the air. And it will stack them on top of each other. Well, hell, imagine how accurate that's going to be. Okay. You sample the living daylights out of those patches. And then it's going to merge them into one. And it's going to then locate the corners. Once it does that, it knows what that 10-acre farm of yours, it knows where each corner post was, and it knows where every little garden is and what vegetables they're growing. That's one way to describe it. So it will select each one of those 9,000 plus squares. He told me the number the other day, but it's in and out my other ear. Okay, so it's at least over 9,000 patches. It will put a selector inside each one, and it will say, okay, this patch should have been this color, but it got printed as this color. You will need to correct this amount to bring it back to the original color as close as possible. So it will do that times 9,000 plus times. And then it will then create the profile. While you are in awe looking at the little corner markers and the selections, it's already making the profile. It didn't even ask you. It's making the profile for you. And once it does that, you are literally done. You can then just literally go to whatever printing application you're using. QImage is what I use, but it could be anything else. And you can then from now on use that profile for that particular printer, that particular ink set, that particular paper. And with the Pro 200, when I say that particular ink set is Precision Colors SE, okay, Signature Edition, the top of the line. All right. My throat is really hurting at this point. Too much pollen outside. Pollen count today is really bad. And we were out this morning. So any questions from you guys? I'm open now for anything you want to ask me. And we'll then do 10 minutes or so. Are you guys having a successful time? Please share all of that here. You guys having a successful time with Print Prism? Are you not having a successful time? Share that with us. You can do that right at this moment. Don't wait until later, because then you'll have to go to their forum and wait for them to answer you. Answer me, ask me here now, and I will attempt to take care of you. I will try to do the best I can. So let me go ahead and prep this. Another possibility for a failure would be if you damage the scan, not the scan, but the print that you are about to scan. If you damage it, that's it. You're basically screwed. You're going to have to reprint it. Now, it's not the end of the world. You just have to reprint it. Some people had a type of paper that just wasn't compatible with the inksets you were using, especially if you're a refiller and not using proven, like Ink Owl, Precision Colors inks. And somehow the ink is not compatible with the coating of the paper, and you get some smearing, maybe. Oh gosh, when you put it on your scanner, it takes 3 days to dry, by the way. When you put it on your scanner, it's going to smear if you try to move it. It may look dry, but it really is not fully dry. And the worst thing also is that you will transfer some ink on your glass, and you'll have to clean it. If you're not careful, then that color is going to contaminate the next scan you do. So think very carefully your combination of inks and papers. If you're basically using proven modern papers that have modern coatings, they should be, and more than likely, absolutely compatible with all the inks that are currently available, including, of course, Precision Colors. So you have to have that chart has to be printed perfectly. Okay. And PP 210, if this is the very, very first time you load it, we'll install that original file, the latest basically design that Mike Cheney came up with for the scanner and the software to then generate the profile with. Don't use any earlier versions that you may have. If you started from the very beginning, get rid of those. Okay, get rid of them. They are not replaced when you update to a new chart. So make sure that you get rid of those. This new program automatically opens up the correct file. Wherever it is stored, it knows where it is stored, and it will open it for you. And then you go ahead and print it. Again, just using Twain type technology, where you choose your printer, you choose your paper type, you choose the quality. Automatically, it turns color management off. It does not impart any kind of color management. Print Prism, that is. And so you go ahead and print it now. The other choices that you have, and I did not cover that, but it's fine. Down where the little circle is with the central cursor, that is for tonal adjustment. It is a global tonal adjustment, and all it is for is in case, for instance, if you're using like a again that P400 is 8 colors, 8 colors, 8 channels. It doesn't have a black ink switch valve, but it doesn't have gray ink, so it may have an issue being able to reproduce a linearly neutral black and white. You create a profile and it does wonderful with a color image, a strong color image like I just showed you. You will have no issues with that because regardless, even if it's leaning a little bit this way or that way, the colors in the image overwhelm that, and you will not see it. The only time you see it is when you're printing a neutral image, a black and white, and then you might see a slight magenta-ish or greenish tint to it, or yellowish or whatever. You adjust that. You look at your image. In fact, just print a middle gray square. I don't know, 250, 150, 150, 150. Perfectly neutral gray, middle gray square, middle-ish. And then look at it. Look at it under the normal lighting. You're going to be looking at your prints later on. And then compare it to the wheel and adjust that until that color on the wheel matches the color of the gray. It's a minor adjustment. It's not enough to cause a change in your color prints, but it's the change you need to absolutely neutralize your black and whites. And then you then use that to create a profile. You can just name it that. Neutral for the 200 with this paper, blah, 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 neutral, okay? Or black and white, whatever you want to call it. Then you'll know that that is a tweaked profile. And you could just use that one from now on. You don't have to go back to the original one you made that had that issue with that P400 because it didn't have a gray ink, or the Art 2000, or the 1900. All of those color printers did not have gray. So they had that issue with black and white. Maybe, maybe not. It depends. It depends on the alignment of the planets, literally. Now, certain papers would react that way. And so you would have to, if you own Print Prism, you have that ability to just handle that problem without any issues at all. And it's wonderful. It operates differently than the advanced black and white or the black and white settings on a Canon printer. Advanced black and white is usually for Epson printers. There you do the opposite. You actually adjust the profile using color technology in your head. If it's magenta, you add green. If it's yellow, you add blue. You see, and you neutralize that way. Well, here is a direct comparison. Okay, my print's a little greenish. My circle is neutral gray. I'm going to add some green to it until it matches my level of green that I see on my prints. Leave it at that and scan that file again. And then create your profile. That's it. In fact, you don't even have to scan it. Just use the scan that you already created and do a new profile manually. You can do that manually. And that will then compensate for that slight problem that those particular printers have with certain papers. Now, a K3 printer like a P900, P800, a super duper, Pro 1100, you're not going to have that issue. Yeah, you're not going to really have any issues. You just basically make that profile and print that black and white image using that profile. You may not even have to ever use black and white mode at all. It should be spot on. Especially if you're using OEM inks, I should have added. Of course, anytime you switch to a third party, you have to deal with that possibility of having to then really create good profiles. As shared last week, this is HC. I put Print Prism aside for now. No time was given. No time was given me yet to look further into differences I discovered that made profiles not available for me at the moment. Yeah, you did discuss that with Mike a little bit last week. So again, the things that you see, that certain people will see, are probably he is very good. I'll give you that. I know you are above probably me when it comes to discerning differences. I tend to accept the fact that I'm making a better profile than my equipment here is capable, or one that almost matches. Okay. And that was the idea of me making that hour plus long video. I did a extensive 3-sheet chart profile with my i1 Pro 2, and then I made one with Print Prism at a tenth of the time and effort. Then I printed both images. All they were standard images, and there was no need for me to go back to the traditional profile. And I think this was even before 210 came out. So this is the triple sheet charts that you print. It's a total of 1,600 color patches. I scan them very slowly to get the most pulses. I will show you the results. This is on the 8550, Print Prism 200, Print Prism 200 Staples Photo Paper Matte. I wrote down Print Prism 2. i1 Pro 2. I need to write Print Prism 200. Oh no, I'm sorry. One was with the long method. i1 Pro 2 on the bottom and Print Prism on the top. Again, forgive my lighting because, and this is the type of image you need to use for comparison, not some oversaturated image with super blue color. The one that, oh my God, the one that Mike Cheney sent me was ridiculous. No printer can produce a correct rendition of that, and yet the person thought it should be able to be done. So I don't know. I don't know where you are at this point. There's some tiny differences that you can, if you really sit and spend 10 minutes looking at these, you will find. But again, one is using Print Prism, the simple method, and one using the long, time-consuming method, which might indeed be popular. And I recommend you do not check gamut bubbles over, profiles on top of each other. Yeah, you'll see differences. The key is, will you see them on prints? And again, are those colors that you're seeing differences out of gamut or not? See, you have to take all of that into consideration. So the bottom one is the iPro 2. Let me take this away here. The top one is the the PP200. Okay. Then this is kind of a little bit difficult image to maybe this way. It's very low key, but there is a white in there, right on his eyes. Now, which is which? The top one is the 200. So this is the 200. This is the i1 Pro. Yeah, let's look at it like this. There you go. I get even lighting from both lights. There you go. Okay. You can't be fooled because if I just do this, one becomes darker than the other. So it's just my lighting. And I don't have that central light today. So what can I say? But again, you're the boss. It's up to you. You can approve or disapprove of it. It's really up to you. Absolutely. But you have to admit that it does work. Okay. And for those of you who do not have access to expensive equipment, which is what normally would be required for you to be able to produce ICC profiles, whether you use their software or whether you use Argyle, open source, or whatever, which some people claim they produce better profiles than the actual proprietary software does. Um, yeah, you're talking this amount of money to this amount of money. Yeah. Can you refresh my memory what you were having issues with? And was it with your particular images or was it with the standard image? I'll stay on a few minutes. I'm now curious as to what it was that we were discussing last week. You don't need to get into huge amount of detail. Just what is it that is preventing you from fully diving into the print prism world? Which again is, you don't have to. It's up to you. If you already have a system that works, see, with me, I don't really mind spending half an hour scanning 3 sheets. What I do not like is spending the money on 3 sheets of expensive paper. Yeah, I suppose I will get a profile that I can put more value on because it costs me more to produce it. But now I have a great profile, so who cares? But if I can nearly produce as good a profile that it's for me very difficult to discern the difference between standard image comparisons, not images like what I just printed that are autogamma. That's a different world right there. Um, for example, this standard image printed fine. And again, this is on matte paper, which is really not the best to do a comparison on. But, come on. Are you seeing something massive? Um, Again, I have yet to see that. I'm only printing, I'm only using standard images as my controls. Having worked in a research biological lab for 25 years, controls is what runs my life when I was doing that. With my images, my eyes spotted differences. I thought I was nuts, but then some spectral readings confirmed. Yeah, spectral readings. But so you're seeing them with your eyes, and did you analyze your images for the possibility of autogamma colors within the image? That could be the reason. Because if you analyze the standard image under autogamma warning, only a few little parts of the strawberries, this area here, let me see. Only right here, there's a little area that's autogamma. It becomes gray. This is not very brightly lit, but and that's the only area that gets affected. I have seen results where some areas of the strawberries look a little bit toward the orange, not quite red, just leaning a little bit more yellow added to the magenta. You know, that sort of situation. Um, but the rest again is this, except for this. Okay, everything else is printable. Is not autogamma. So anything you see that you see differences, that's your image. That is due to the editing. And I have the same issue. I run into the same issue. I want it to look like this, but it will not. Okay. And when you do that, what do you see? Are you using Photoshop? That's the most graphic one, which shows you the actual areas turning gray. I'm just curious. I hope you and Mike can get together. I don't know. Maybe we should have both of you as a guest. Have I ever had a triple guest? Yes, I have. I've had Andrew and I have Mike as a guest before for QMH1 and QMH Ultimate. You want to do that next week? We can set it up. If you have a camera, any kind of a web camera, or if you want to do it on your laptop, or if you have a tablet, whatever, you can get on and you can be a guest, and we can sit here and discuss everything. And you might be surprised what Mike tells you. Okay, like I said, he is crazy, crazy good as far as the behind the scenes, under the table reasons for this or that happening. Okay, and I just kick back and I just absorb it in my old brain. Let me know. We can do that. If it's something really bothering you, just come on, and then we'll fix it for you. We'll try to fix it. I gotta get Mike to be able to. Right now, I think he's taking a break from adding any more features, or I think at this point there's really not much he can add, unless it's some sort of a. Okay, all right. Well, it's up to you. You can maybe borrow something from someone. I just want to help you. I want you to solve whatever issue you're having with whatever is bugging you. I want you to stop bugging you. I want you to either realize, okay, it's impossible, or yeah, it's possible because Mike will say because I did something wrong, or this is what I suggest you do. And so you said you checked them both in Photoshop, and did you see out of gamut areas? That's what I'm asking. I want to know. So this one here, yes, all of this was out of gamut. Okay, the little butterflies, all of this area here was out of gamut. This one here, not much. Gosh, this is so dark. Not much. Just a few little areas here. Some of these blues into the blue purple realm where it showed a little bit of gray. But the rest of the image apparently was not out of gamut. So not much difference. I was able to print it with both versions of the profile, both rendering intents, and yeah, there's visual differences. The rendering intents did it. And so I'm gonna stick with the normal mode. Again, I'm not trying to like reproduce a yellow from Kodak. You see what I mean? I'm not trying to reproduce a certain color that Snow White had in the original movie. No, I'm not trying to do that. I want to get a good rendition of what I see on my monitor, and sort of, so no out of gamuts. Okay, then it's the profiles. I cannot say anything else. So if the images, are you talking about viewing two different images or one? Okay, all right, we'll leave it at that. If you ever want to, and if you can borrow some, maybe even a cell phone will work. Even a cell phone, all we need to do is talk, discuss. So same image file, you printed one with the profile you created with your expensive instrument, and then one created with the cheap way with Print Prism, and you saw a difference. Sure. I just showed you what I got. Okay. Using expensive and then using cheap. And the truth is, yeah, there's slight differences, but it's not going to make me lose sleep over it. It just isn't. Okay, well, thank you so much, my friends. for being here with me today. Hopefully, it's not too hot outside. 88 degrees. It's supposed to cool down a little bit tonight. Hopefully, uh, no, it's going to be 87 by 7 p.m. still. Uh, eh. My old air conditioning system just does not do the job anymore. I'm going to have to like do a bit of bargaining with my mortgage company. I'm almost paid up with a house. I got a lot of equity um, to do a lot of renovations in the house. This house was built in 1960s, and we don't want to move anymore. So we want to update everything. So I may have to live with that for the next year or so, and we'll see. One job at a time. All right. Thank you so much again, everybody, and until the next time. Happy. Wait a minute. Happy printing. Bye bye, everybody.